I parked in my assigned spot. It was part of the lease for my apartment building, one reserved space per unit. Nothing special, just an uncovered spot with a faded number painted on the pavement. I'd lived there almost 2 years and parked in the same place every day without thinking about it. It was a Thursday evening around 6 p.m. I'd just gotten back from work, still in my slacks and flats carrying a bag of takeout. As I was locking my car, this woman from the building next door to mine, Linda from Unit 3B, walked straight up to me and stood between me and the sidewalk with her arms crossed. She said I couldn't park there anymore because her mother was visiting and needed easy access. I was confused and told her that was my assigned spot. She looked at me like I was being deliberately difficult and said, "Well, you don't look like you need it as much as she does." I didn't even know how to respond to that. I just said I was sorry, but that spot came with my apartment and I wasn't moving my car. She scoffed, shook her head, and muttered something about people having no consideration anymore as she walked off. I tried to forget about it, but the next morning I walked outside, and there was a handwritten note tucked under my windshield wiper. It said I was being selfish and that some people actually have families. Felt that mix of embarrassment and anger that just sits in your chest. I tore the note up and went to work, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. I texted my friend Alex, who lives in another complex, and he told me not to engage and to take pictures of everything just in case. 2 days later, I come home and there's a cone in my parking spot, one of those cheap orange traffic cones, like it had been stolen from a construction site. I stood there staring at it for a good minute, trying to decide if this was real. I moved the cone, parked, and went inside. About 10 minutes later, there was a knock at my door. It was Linda, visibly angry, saying I had no right to move her cone. I told her again that it was my spot and asked why she thought she could block it. She said everyone knew her mom was visiting for the week, and I should have been neighborly. I told her being neighborly didn't mean giving up something I paid for. That night, she posted in the building's online message board. She didn't use my name, but it was obvious. She wrote about certain residents refusing to accommodate elderly visitors and hogging parking spaces while others struggled. People immediately started commenting. Some said visitors should use guest parking. Others agreed with her and said people should be flexible. Then someone asked which unit she was talking about, and suddenly my unit number was mentioned. One guy commented that he'd seen me park there every day and that it was clearly assigned. Another woman said she hoped I never needed help from neighbors if that's how I acted. I was shaking reading it. Then the building manager chimed in and said assigned spots were not to be blocked or reassigned under any circumstances and that traffic cones were not permitted. Linda replied that she'd lived there longer and deserved some respect. Someone else pointed out that longevity didn't rewrite lease agreements. After that, the tone shifted. People started sharing stories about Linda claiming common areas and telling others what they could and couldn't do. The manager locked the thread. The next day, I came home to find my spot empty and cone-free. A few minutes later, my neighbor from 2A knocked on my door and said she'd seen everything online and thought Linda was way out of line. We ended up talking in the hallway for almost an hour. Over the next week, a couple other neighbors made a point of saying hi to me in the parking lot. Linda stopped looking at me entirely. Her mom still visited, parked in guest parking like everyone else, and nothing terrible happened. No emergencies, no chaos, just normal life. A week later, I saw Linda trying to save a different spot with a folding chair, and the manager removed it within an hour. She never brought it up again. I still park in my spot every day, and every time I do, I feel this quiet sense of relief that I didn't give in just to keep the peace.